so good to see him. I really like that film, Captured, and we're going to be showing clips of that, and I congratulate you enormously on it. It was a wonderful thing. And more, what was involved in the making of the film, I really congratulate you. And couldn't have been to a nicer guy than Clayton.
Thank you for having us.
My great good pleasure. And welcome in the audience. We have two young men who have been involved as filmmakers, and we're going to talk about their take on the human condition and the state of filmmaking. And we're going to want to highlight particularly a film that they were involved in making called Captured, that's out now and recent, and also the work that they're working on now. And on my far left is Jenner Furst. Jenner is a very interesting name, and we needn't go into that, perhaps maybe we will, but...
Depends how much time we want to fill later in the hour.
Yeah, well, if we need some time, we can fill in on Jenner.
Right.
Okay, and Jenner first, and he's one of the co-producers of the program. And on my immediate left is Dan Levin, and he is also co-producer and director and so forth of that film. And they work together in filmmaking. They got projects going now following upon the launching of Captured. But gentlemen, welcome really very, very much to Conversation.
Nice to be here.
Well, thank you for having us.
No, it's my great good pleasure. I had the pleasure of being at a showing of that film that you put together, you guys put together, and we want to share that. But I wonder, Dan, particularly you, Dan, maybe because you come from a distinguished family in terms of filmmaking. Your dad was a filmmaker, and I understand your granddaddy was a filmmaker. Maybe it would be worth sharing, and then we'll talk a little about his background, then we'll get into the Captured and other matters.
Yeah, I am a third-generation filmmaker
on
my father's side. My grandfather was involved in PBS early on with Bill Moyers and did a bunch of films. Most prominently, one of them was called Who Invited Us, sort of about the American military-industrial complex.
Really? Okay.
And then my father sort of followed in the same suit, and he's done a lot of documentary work for HBO and, you know, now Sundance Channel, a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm sort of was born into it and grew up around it and have always been interested in film and photography, so it was sort of natural for me to step into that realm. You
were born right into an environment that was ready-made for the emerging multimedia communicating world.
I was, yes,
yeah, it was.
Definitely.
You were very privileged that way in terms of having that kind of a background. So you were. Was the family involved also? Others? You have brothers, sisters?
I have a twin sister. Yeah, she is involved in the art world.
In art, yeah.
My mom is works in museums, curating art, restoration and stuff like that. So my family's very artistic family, I would say. Sure.
Yeah, okay, that's really good. And you think of filmmaking, obviously it is. It's art. That's where we'd put it. It gets to be, there's a science to it, which hope it would, too. But that's really good, and congratulations and on the good fortune to be born into such an interesting, intellectually curious, and, if I'm not mistaken, progressive-minded in terms of the human condition, family setting.
Definitely, definitely.
That's important, isn't it?
It is, it is, and it was important to me. And I also had the pleasure of growing up in New York City, which was a major influence on my life and on the film Captured, which we made. So I was blessed in many different respects.
I love New York. Are you from New York originally?
Yeah, born and raised in Chelsea, the West Side, not too far from here.
That's really interesting. On 26th Street, I understand?
26th Street, yes.
I used to be down there at the Center for Media Arts. They had a major film thing there. New York is a wonderful city. They got 192 countries at the UN, and we have sizable communities of 189 of those communities in New York. Isn't that wonderful?
It's amazing.
Walk down the street, sometimes you don't hear English. I think it's great.
Love it.
I can't imagine being anywhere else, can you?
Me neither.
I was born and raised in Detroit. It isn't so good. It isn't the same over there. But anyway, that's really good. But now how about you, Jenner?
Well, actually,
what's your
there's
background?
An imaginary person sitting to my left.
Harvey.
Harvey.
Uh-huh.
Actually, his name is Ben Solomon.
Okay, yeah.
He was the co-director of this film.
Okay.
And grew up with Daniel Levin. And they together started this journey. And it's important to say that Ben, who's not with us now, he's on the West Coast.
Yes, Ben Solomon is like a brother to me growing up.
Don't say that. He's not with us.
He is not in the studio.
Let me explain to you. I'm older, right? And friends are not with us with alarming regularity when you get into the older years.
I can understand.
So I recommend to you don't use that particular.
Out
He's on the West Coast doing well.
He's on the West Coast doing very well. And we are very happy to invoke
the
spirit,
spirit of Ben Solomon.
The living spirit of Ben Solomon, who is going to be, he's very much alive. So he's not here, but Ben Solomon, we love you.
Shout out. Ben.
Shout out to Ben.
Good.
Yeah, so I didn't grow up in New York. I grew up in Boston.
Boston.
And I actually didn't come here until I was pretty old. I came here when I was 16. So that was pretty much...
With family or...
No, I came here alone when I was 16, not for school.
You ran away from home or something?
I don't know. I don't know how much time you got to go into the details, but... you know, so to me it was something, I don't know about that, but, you know, so it was, you know, New York to me was experienced through myth, and when I got here I realized just how amazing of a place this was, and really, you know, decided to live here. I didn't move here when I was 16, but I came back several times and decided to move here.
Okay. When you got
later.
you got into filmmaking on your own, or how'd you get into it?
You know, I sort of been making little movies about characters, and I grew up in a very absurd world. My father was a musician and sort of a very eccentric person, and had a music school in our house, and I was always exposed to a lot of very insane and colorful people, and so the idea of storytelling and emphasizing, you know, the irregularities of the human condition were definitely very much ingrained in my early childhood, and was always embraced to be performative and things like of the such. So you know,
really funny.
He's a character.
He's a man of words. You use those
words
with great alacrity. Yes,
that is right.
A poet,
so,
I would say.
I am a poet. I am a you know, editor by profession. But me and Dan and Ben Solomon have made this film, Captured, about really a living legend named Clayton Patterson.
God bless him. He's a great
bless
guy.
him.
Yeah.
And really the mission of the film was to make sure that the 30 years of work and life that he, you know, lived down on the Lower East Side, documenting things. Lives.
I talked to him very animatedly yesterday.
We do too. We just,
I'm sorry, he keeps stressing that, but you'll understand when you
I
get
understand.
to be a septuagenarian.
I know. Well, see, we will all live forever
through
through this program.
I see.
You see, because
that's
this
true.
program is immortalizing us all.
Yeah, that's right.
In this moment in time.
And if it isn't on tape, it doesn't exist, huh?
And, you know, exactly. So I think it's important that the timelessness of the message be stressed, that, you know, we're here. It's, you know, March 17, 2009, but really this day and what we speak of in Clayton Patterson and all the things that we hope viewers of this program may get a chance to see tonight, is something that endures. And really his message ran the risk of not enduring because of a certain barrier, I wouldn't say in society, but in sort of popular understanding about how important he was. You know, he went through periods in his life where he was in the public eye. You know, he, you know, became sort of famous by designing a baseball hat that had embroidery around the whole thing.
Yeah, we should let people know who he was, for those who don't. Yeah.
Right, Clayton Patterson.
Yeah.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah.
You know, the self-proclaimed documentarian of the Lower East Side, the holder of the key.
No doubt. Of
the last phase.
Yeah, he's been here and he's documented the Lower East Side and been in touch with the entire filmmaking, creative filmmaking, poetic community, everybody on the Lower East.
And the living community. And the real, on the street, the not just artists, the working people,
that's right,
the families. And it's just such a mosaic of different stories that he's captured, and so...
And he captures them so they preserve and live on, and sort of that was sort of our way of making him live on and his work be preserved, was making this film. So
good for you. It really is a great task. We were chatting that he and Elsa, his wife, love him.
Elsa's amazing.
Wonderful, right? There's always a dog
the
there.
yin to his yang.
Yeah, right. They're beautiful, beautiful people. And they're known to everybody, and he's got maybe, it's hard to estimate exactly, you said be somewhere, but I've heard tell that he have photography and video, and he may have as many as 1 million photographs of the people, particularly of the Lower East Side, and he may be remembered in the minds of some as someone who was videotaping the activity when the Tompkins Square incident went down.
Right,
forth,
that's what he's most well known for, is the night of the Tompkins Square Park police riot, 1988, and his film, he videotaped sort of the clash between protesters, homeless people, and the police who were trying to clear the park to what they said impose a curfew, but really it was sort of attack on the homeless and sort of in an attempt.
Quality of life, you know, it's
the general,
general quality of life argument of what, you know, what was happening in New York City at the time.
Right.
But really, if you look at, okay, so like I was saying before, is that Clayton has these moments in history that he became very relevant to society, and the most, you know, the most significant one is August 6th, 7th, 1988, when Clayton documented this riot, which it's important to stress that this riot was not civilians rioting. This riot was the New York City Police Department rioting. The police department was rioting. And that terminology of being a police riot, that was one of the only police riots in the 20th century. So that was a very, very special time. And, you know, if you go, you know, Clayton knows the significance of his work, and he understands the significance that on, you know, August 6th, 7th, 1988, the New York City Police Department could not close that park. In fact, their efforts to close a 10.5-acre park, which was inhabited by homeless people and squatters, and which was filled with demonstrators and general, you know, civilian unrest at the time, their efforts to close that park resulted in absolute mayhem on the streets of the entire Lower East Side, and basically not the entire Lower East Side, but, you know, a very large sort of, you know, ring around the park. They could not close it. And in 2001, as Clayton, you know, this is, you know, his understanding and really the significance of why this event is important is because in 2001, the New York City Police Department and other agencies could close down the entire city. And so if you think about that, and if you think about that sort of transition where you have over these, you know, 10 odd years reforming of the police department and the way the city is going to run, and a fight against corruption within the police department, which was the Mullen Commission. And so, you know, this is why it was special, and he was on the street for 9/11. So this is all part of the mythology of, you know, where Clayton ended up with his documenting, with his being on the street documenting. But there was a whole process to even being on the street on August 6th, 1988.
And the right of people to be on the street.
And people interacting with him, people saying, oh, that's Clayton, he's from the neighborhood, you know, let him be, you know.
And he has stood up for those people.
He had.
Stood up to them and talked to the police and bring these things into question in the media and so forth in a way where he's had some difficulty because of that, but he's really stood up and talking, what do they call truth to power in a certain sense.
And really the core message is that he, as little brother, you know, is watching Big Brother. But this is, as you will see in Captured, you know, if you're a viewer who's trying to wants to know more, the film has it all. And really, you know, the most interesting thing to us, I think, is the idea that Clayton went from being a voyeur, you know, his love of documenting started in the stage of a voyeuristic, people on the street, sort of passerbys, to being invited to take photographs of a neighbor of his named Peter Quailoff, who's now, his name is Son PK, taking pictures of Son PK, getting ready for his drag performances. So then, now he gets invited in. So then he meets other people there, and they happen to be part of the New York hardcore scene, and they're the bouncers at the
hardcore.
Hardcore is sort of a hardcore music. You know, it was a movement that didn't start necessarily in New York, but came to prominence in New York in the late 80s, around the Lower East Side, around CBGBs.
Is that mashing and stuff? Or?
Moshing, and a select few were actually working at the Pyramid Club.
Oh, Pyramid Club,
as bouncers. Club, so it was sort of Clayton's journey, sort of meeting this person to that person and bouncing around, and ultimately ending up in the park on that night. And that's sort of what our film goes through, and then ultimately the actions, his tapes, the tape of the riot, what that meant to then the rest of his life. His sort of, that's the provocateur. He went from a voyeur. After the riot, he became a provocateur, fighting the police, chasing them down, you know, little brother's watching Big Brother, making sure that they knew that he was always there and that he
Little brother watching Big Brother. That's actually, you got that as a theme on one of your logos and things like that.
Well, it's actually
that's
Clayton's,
theme, I mean,
that's a direct quote from Clayton
That's
Patterson
his battle cry.
on the Oprah Winfrey Show.
Right.
You know, Clayton...
And he also turned that into sort of a form of art and activism.
Yeah, right, absolutely.
So it was his expression. It was a lot of things.
I think, and it might be worth mentioning, he knew all the people, you know, D'Antonio, and he knew, you know, Jonas Mekas and the film, and he was in film and video and everything, and for a time. And then he was there down on Essex Street at Houston and everything. And then how did you, let's go, we want to get to it. We have a clip. You're going to show some of captured, but how did you guys happen to come along, meet up with him, and then understand that this person and his work and the archive of his work, video and film and so forth, plus the person was a person that could be the center of a major documentary film that you decided to do? How did that happen? And then we'll set it up for the clip if we can.
Sure. That happened because myself and Ben Solomon, co-director, you know, we began this journey sort of together in high school. We knew Clayton in high school through various people.
Really?
Yes, through friends' parents and stuff like that. And we eventually found our way into his 161 Essex apartment, which is a museum.
It is. It's a,
so once you get in and you see, you know, everything amassed that he's collected over the years, the photography, the video, we would go there and, you know, just share stories. He would tell us about his life, his adventures. He'd show us photos, and just digging through boxes of photos, it was amazing to me to see all this stuff, and that no one had, you know, that he had never really been recognized in terms of art and photography. And I mean, he had his activism days, but he had never really been recognized outside of New York.
He said he went from being voyeur to a provocateur. That's a transformation in terms of the way a person's consciousness works, isn't it? It's important.
And Clayton has never really stopped. I mean, he's still on the street documenting, so it's not like he ever sat down and was like, I want to do something with all this work. It took us to see it and be like, this is an amazing archive. And so me and Ben Solomon just started basically making a movie once we graduated. I mean, we went away to college. Did you get the idea right away, first day you met him or something? Or how did it develop? Well,
how does it develop? You guys are creative filmmakers. How do you get a film notion in the way and that it actually is realized? How does it happen? It'd be worth noting. A lot of people, because that's becoming the major way of human communication, is multimedia development of film. In the larger sense. How does it happen?
We hope that film will continue to be that, but
I
really
think it's going to,
the
with
web
the video.
And these other things sort of encroach. I think the web, the internet, encroaches on the ability of the sort of traditional, you know, there's a lot of different things that encroach on the ability, I mean, you could, of the traditional documentary film to serve the role that it's been serving for, you know, decades and decades and decades as a way it's a
double-edged sword. I mean,
it is, and it's a thing that we haven't had realized. I mean, when you think about it, we had Ma Rainey before Bessie Smith, and there was no recording. I used to have a recording in the attic of my home in Detroit there was one there that was a recording my grandfather had put up there, and it said, you put it on, it would play 78 RPM, and it said, this is a demonstration recording of the new Columbia talking machine. Well, way the hell back the turn of the century. Before that, we didn't have anything. We didn't, you know what I'm saying? So things change.
The internet is good. Things change.
Yes, it is.
We're all evolving. And, you know, this film itself actually plays a role not only for us as evolving filmmakers to understand the way that our work can be received or be shown, but really as a model for, let's say, you know, the fact that almost over a year ago, or close to a year ago right now, right, Dan? June?
Captured.
So we would say close to a year ago this film premiered. And everyone's asking for a DVD. Where can we buy the DVD? Well, look, traditional distributors and programmers and people were in positions to understand that people want to see this DVD and people want to see this film. They didn't understand it. So it's up to us to get the film out there in different ways. Now, we're not saying we don't have, you know, any sort of distribution. Actually, this month, you know, the film is going to be up on the iTunes movie store. So you'll be able to buy it through iTunes.
That'll be a big jump, right?
That'll be an event, and that'll be a big thing. And then, you know, also the film will be available on Amazon. You'll be able to buy the DVD through a new thing called CreateSpace. So there's ways to get a movie out. But the traditional model didn't see you know, I don't want to say they didn't see the value, but they didn't see the value.
Well,
and, you know,
they didn't
see
the value. They didn't see the value.
Clayton,
we don't have vision. Or Clayton,
people did not understand his value so much at the time when he was doing what he was doing. And it took a younger generation, a generation that was really coming to consciousness while he was doing these things, to look back at our own generation, especially them growing up in New York.
Jumping back is the way it came about was the importance that we saw in him was I went away to school. To college.
Well, what'd you do? Film?
Film school. I went to Hampshire College where I actually met Jenner, and then I ended up at Emerson. But what happened was...
We could talk about how you met and everything,
right.
But we need...
Well, we will. But what happened was when I left, my neighborhood was the neighborhood that I grew up in. Chelsea, parking lots everywhere, desolate. When I came back...
It's an art scene.
It was a new neighborhood. It was totally transformed. The corner that I grew up on, 26 and 6, was all parking lots when I left.
I remember.
When I came back... High rises, 27-story buildings, Whole Foods, So that to me was amazing. That changed, and that's been going on in New York forever.
It's migrating to the Garment District now.
Of course, the Garment District. But then, but at the time that I came back, it was happening in the Lower East Side.
Right.
So there you have Clayton. You have Clayton with all his work, documenting everything that's been going on.
And everybody knows Clayton.
Exactly. The neighborhood's about to change. All these buildings are going up. So we were like, listen, we better capture him, his archives, right before this neighborhood flips, because that is the story. So that's how we started making the film.
Okay, now you got the idea, and I didn't want to get all philosophic, but the Harvard Medical School said that memories or thoughts are best conveyed and maintained and accelerated through the processes that involve a multisensory perception. The world's going multisensory. We couldn't do that. We had print. It was McLuhan. It was illiterate. It's linear. All that. It was all going through a change. And the internet is net a good thing, I would think.
I would say
you better say so, because everything's going to be on the internet.
Definitely. It's helping get our. It's helping.
And you don't make a distinction.
Democratizing information.
Yes, indeed. You don't make a distinction between, or do you, between filmmaking and video editing.
No, I think that that actually is what made Clayton so significant, because there was a time in history, Clayton's work, his significance, how he ended up being where he was, everything that he did had to do with specific convergences, serendipitous moments in history. He happens to meet someone when he's in the basement of this club documenting drag queens, and the guy's got this camera, and it's video, and it's cheap, and you can go out and buy it, and you know, you could move around and document it. Instead of taking these pictures with this Pentax, Clayton, you know, he wasn't about the fine art of portraiture or photography. He was about the documentation. He was about the moment. He was about the people, and it was about, you know, arresting these moments, sometimes gritty, unpolished. I mean, he didn't care so much about that. He got his photos developed in Chinatown at a 1-hour photo. He didn't develop them in a darkroom. He didn't mind about he didn't care about processes, because his whole life he grew up as an outsider. He had people tell him, you're not an artist, you don't know about art, you know, printmaking is not, you know, when he came to New York, he was a printmaker. He had people tell him printmaking is not art, this is not art. So his whole thing was, you know,
go make art.
Yeah, exactly.
Too busy
and
making
don't tell
art
me
to
what
be
it
defined.
is.
And don't. One of the problems is we only got an hour. We could talk for 25 hours easy, couldn't we, about Clayton, you know, and the Lower East Side, and there's all kinds of things about how you met at the Scott Film School. You know, it's an endless thing. But we've got clips we got to get in.
Let's
so we have to be disciplined in the way.
Definitely.
You met Clayton, you put the film together. It's called Captured.
Can we high speed through maybe the history so we don't have to go back? They had come together. They had amazing stuff together, Dan and Ben Solomon. And really what happens with this work is it's so overwhelming that it's easy to go down a lot of different roads and, you know, not get lost, but get overwhelmed. So I came in at a serendipitous moment when there needed to be someone else to look at this stuff, to understand it.
So you two just got to start, and then you came in, right?
And the three of you. We brought Jenner in, and,
so what we
his eye for storytelling and for editing really helped shape the whole movie.
But we were able to also do other things.
They had something that you looked at and then you changed it?
Well, you know, they had come together with, you know, working through some of this material, but really it was when the three of us came together together. It was like we formed, you know, like Voltron, you know. Dan was like the heart, you know, and I was like the hand, and Ben was like the crown.
Okay,
you know?
that's great.
All right.
So, but the point being is that we've been talking a lot, right? We've been talking about everything, and we have some film footage that we ought to show, right?
The first clip
so,
is,
what is it that we have? Maybe you can set it up, and then the booth they can get ready. And what is it we're going to look at?
Is the trailer for the film.
The trailer.
So
how long is this?
It's 2 minutes.
2 minutes. We have a 2-minute trailer we're going to show, and then I guess we're going to show another piece down the line of
Later on, we will, yes.
Okay, so let's set that up. We're talking with the producers of the film Captured, and here's...
You could almost be anybody you wanted to be on Lower East Side. If you wanted to dress up as a woman, you could dress up as a woman. If you wanted to be a skinhead, you could be a skinhead. Interest in preserving history. Looking out on the street, it's like being in an aquarium, and when I look out in the street, I see this activity all day long.
From a filmmaking point of view, it's great. You don't have to go very far to get a really good shot.
The art scene in that crime-ridden area was really exciting and really vibrant.
Here we are in the Lower East Side of New York City.
This place is great.
There's a lot of things we all saw, but we would have been really stupid if we pulled out a camera.
Quality of life was not high on the agenda, and you could see it. It was not a pretty picture.
People laying on the stoop dead with a needle out of their arm. They never cared, because it didn't matter down here.
No! Will the real community of the Lower East Side come forward? They were here before any of this fucking yuppie stuff even started!
There's been so much change. He's documented that religiously.
Hold my camera. We have a right to have the meeting documented.
Clayton, so tell us about the videotape that you took.
What? What'd you say to me? What'd you say to me?
A camera became such a weapon.
He refused to hand over his videotapes.
I got more cops in trouble than anybody in the history of America with those tapes and subsequent tapes.
This is a revolutionary tool. Little brother is watching Big Brother.
I'm giving that a life, a breath of fresh air, a place in the universe.
Okay, really good. That's the trailer, right? That isn't going out. That's the thing. How long did it take you to put it together?
Well, it took us about 2 to 3 years to put it together.
2 to 3 years.
But it took Clayton...
What's the process?
It took Clayton 30 years.
No. Don't worry about it. Clayton's doing his thing. You come in and you've done
we
a great thing.
And we
it's a great synergy between the two of you. Now, you guys, what was the process? Because a lot of people are going to become... A lot of people want to become filmmakers now, right? Do you understand? A lot of the youth coming up, and that makes sense. Definitely. And everything. We're coming into an electronic age. It's going to be accelerating all the time. So... How does it happen? It took you 2 years. What was the time? How did it happen? How does it happen? Well, do you storyboard? How do you do it?
It was on and off. It wasn't like a straight 2, 3 years.
It became a straight shot. I think it was really the way, you know, Dan and Ben started that it had to be when it could be. That they could work on this, you know.
Okay, they had to fit it in.
Like we were saying, I think what's significant about our generation making a passion project like this is that, you know, you know, time is money.
It fits in with other things. You still have to worry about money.
It did.
You have to worry about money.
We had,
Well, we had to worry. We had to worry about making money.
That's a shame.
I mean, thank God, my father is a filmmaker, and you know, donated his space, you know, for us to work out
and taught you a lot.
And his equipment.
And you had learned a lot.
Yeah, this film would not have happened.
You had a lot of the hands-on knowledge.
Definitely.
But I learned from Mark, and you know, Mark Levin. This film would not have happened without Mark Levin.
Thank you,
and
Mark
it wasn't just what.
And the whole Levin
clan. And all the families, you know.
And all the other people who were, you know, D'Antonio and all the people that are great filmmakers.
And the Donner Party, and going back all the way to Christ.
But the real process is that we gathered all this footage that we shot, that we with Clayton, him telling his story.
That's what you did. You got a lot of acquisition footage of things?
Just of him telling his story.
You videotaped?
Yeah, we videotaped interviews with him.
What format did you use? What formats do you like to use? How does it work?
Mini Mini DV.
Mini DV's a good one, right?
It is a good one, yeah.
24p when that was all the craze.
That doesn't mean anything to me. 24.
Well, that
was a certain look.
It was a certain look. It looked like film. It was a very high quality video at the time. This for HD became. You know, see, that's how dated our process was. Not really.
It's moving.
It's moving that fast.
Yeah, it's moving.
Is that now? For you, who's going to do anything that's not high definition?
The pace is only going to advance. The rate of the change that's been almost exponential is going to go even faster as we get to carbon.
Smell-o-vision.
As we
they're going to have aroma.
We're getting to carbon
in the movie
60
theater.
just over the horizon. It's going to go like gangbusters.
I know.
I mean, it's going to go faster than we had. So it's moving fast. You got to keep up with it.
Right.
And it's moving fast because you use.
So we use mini DV tapes. We did interviews, and it took Jenner to come in and for all of us to figure out what was the chronological story. Because
do you have to get a storyline before you start putting the things together?
Well, we didn't have one for a long time. We didn't have one for a long time.
That's because you were busy doing other things, making money?
No, because there's so much there. We knew we had a great character in Clayton. We knew we had great footage in what he had, but we had to figure out what was the story, which ultimately was the voyeur to provocateur.
You think first-person narrative is a good way to try to build a documentary, or that? Yeah, or
this documentary is a little bit unique in that it's a documentary about a compulsive documentarian who documented everything. So now you already, the snake is already eating its own tail.
Yes,
okay?
right.
So you have a situation where he was like we said, very democratic about what he shot.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about all the storylines. You have whole movies
like
that
reality.
could live right.
It's
that
like reality, really.
It is in that, but a reality show. A lot of people don't know. We work in the industry, whatever that means, and we know that we don't. I don't know. But, reality show is far less real than, reality.
Don't tell me. I feel like I live in a movie. And every day I go around, I see Academy Award performances all the time.
Those are the best performances.
Right. But, I don't know if you knew a fellow Norbert Wiener. He was the father of cybernetics and so forth. They met in a room in '46, and they coined the term cyber. And everything's going cyber now.
Right.
It's going to accelerate with carbon 60 that's just over the horizon. It's going to go beyond the silicon chip, and everything's going to be moving. But he used to say, I think, information overload. I mean, if you start looking at this, you put everything into, everybody's like in systems, and they sit in systems and different ways of dividing up the whole human experience. And the thing is that information overload within a system permits pattern recognition. So you get above the fray of the confusion within the system, and you see it as part. You can get more comprehensive. So you get a view of how the hell the whole thing is going to work.
He was above the fray for sure.
Dan and Ben were in the information overload stage.
Wallowing around
in
sensory overload.
Sensory overload. This stuff had so much significance.
If you were too much
in grew up in New York, I didn't grow up here.
You were outside.
I was an outside perspective to say we have to make it universal. We have to figure out how to get the story so that we can boil it down so that someone's sitting on a couch with potato chips and a beer in Wisconsin watches Clayton or 7-Up or 7-Up or
nachos,
Dr. Pepper.
Let's not
advertise
get into detail.
for other corporations.
Right.
But because this is pure here.
Yes, I understand. This is pure art.
All right.
Yes.
This is pure. So,
but I'm glad you brought that to it, because you can really get lost if you get overwhelmed. If you get overwhelmed,
I think we still got lost. I mean, we found at least what the path was going to be, but it still took over close to a year after that moment of editing. And when you think editing, it's a long time, but when you're full-time editing for a year, that's a lot of editing.
Yeah, I guess
it is.
But it seems to me the editing would be easier if you do have some idea of where the hell you're. They have an old Scottish song.
Right.
We don't know where we're going, but we're on our way.
Right. That's exactly what we were singing.
If you know where you're going, you can begin to start putting things together in a way that makes it easier to get a little reward from what you do rather than feeling overwhelmed.
We knew the meta story.
Is that important?
I think we always knew that Clayton's story was universal.
Yeah, right.
And that no matter how we got to the end, it was going to be received, whether it's now or in 10 years or whatever. It is a universal story, and I think for people who are coming into New York, where there's people always coming here, whether they be artists or business people.
You're going to send this out to the Chamber of Commerce, to the world, to have people come to New York?
No, I think once they get here, this is like a textbook. This is what they hand you. Welcome to New York.
This should be a class at NYU called Captured, where you sit here and you say, look at our dorm room, look at our neighborhood, go to Starbucks. Wait a second, who's Clayton Patterson? Wait a second, what was Tompkins Square?
what is New York City?
Second.
This
What
is New
is
York City. It's
$50
not
rent?
all Empire State Building and, you know, the UN. You know, okay, listen, one of the problems is we've got information overload. I could talk to you for 50 hours. Maybe you have to come over and meet the dog.
Yeah,
and we could talk over coffee and that kind of thing and everything. And but we got another clip, right? So let's hear. How can you?
Can we bullet point? We'll
yes,
do
whatever,
bullet
whatever.
Clayton
You
Patterson,
guys do it.
Man, the myth, the
you
legend.
got to
surrender.
No,
the woman behind the strong.
What are you
woman
rapping
behind the man.
now, right?
I'm rapping.
All right.
Not really.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, not a rapper.
No, somebody set it up so we show the damn film.
His name is Jim Jones.
We got to stop talking.
We
did.
Okay.
The
clip.
Somebody talk.
Well, hold on. Let's set this clip up.
Right.
The clip that we're going to show. This is towards the end of the movie where Clayton has already gone through his transformation. He's been in the Tompkins Square riot. Now he is a provocateur, and this sort of highlights his, you know, adventures against the police, but also his relationship with Elsa, how they work together as a team. And they are a wonderful team. She really is the backbone.
But that was another, for example, that was another important thing that as filmmakers we arrived at. It took time thinking about the story to understand that.
Right.
Clayton's character is a binary system of Clayton and Elsa, and they together are Clayton. So if Clayton has now become the provocateur, who's the face, getting beaten up every day on the street, documenting cops, who's going to document him?
Elsa.
Exactly. And the synergy between the two of them, where Elsa sort of, you know, is in a room and no one really says, where's Elsa? You can't. She is the brilliance in a lot of ways, and plus everything she's done with the archives. So Elsa Renza is important.
Thank you, Elsa, for helping us out.
Couldn't agree with you more.
And the woman and the female,
Spider.
the female, the yin, the yang, the female to the male, these things were definitely part of the universal layers of the human condition.
That's part of the human condition. I think it has been since Cro-Magnon caves.
For sure.
Probably
but in any case,
before
it still continues. Probably
mammals.
Yeah,
right?
even mammals.
You know, something's got to happen.
Yeah, but anyway, so you've got more film from. You got a clip from Captured.
This is from Captured.
Now
yes.
it's going to run 4 or 5 minutes or something.
This is 3 minutes.
Yes.
3 minutes.
This is like Dan said.
This is a taste.
This is when he becomes the provocateur.
Okay, and this is Jenner Furst and Dan Levin, and let's run that little piece now if we can. Then we'll run 3 or 4 minutes from Captured.
Everybody in New York knows that it was police misconduct. Buy yourself one of these. This is a revolutionary tool. Little brother is watching Big Brother. If you have one of these, and it's cheap and it's accessible, it's a tool.
A camera became such a weapon to the authorities.
Hold my camera. We have a right to have the meeting documented. We have a right to have the meeting documented. It's not a movie, it's a record of this. This is 1 hour, right? Who's going to do something about it? Who's going to do something about it? We're chicken. This is what they want, this is what they get. Doing it again. Now we live in the street.
I got involved with documenting the political chaos that was happening in Lower East Side on the streets at that time.
The boys gotta go. We all go. We don't live here. No one can. Tompkins Square.
He's the guy right there. He's the guy that hit the girl in the head. Brooklyn South Task Force, 2922.
Why are you gonna kill us because we care about people, you fucking asshole?
The guy right there, he just hit
a shit?
Get your stick up. You're a woman beater, man. You hold this old lady and you hit her in the head.
I got more cops in trouble than anybody in the history of America with those tapes and subsequent tapes.
What's your name? What's your name? Is that stuff poison? What's your name? What's your name? What's your name? What's your name? What's his name?
Clayton and Elsa work excellently as a team. They work together hand in hand.
When we went somewhere and Clayton was about to get arrested, he gave me the camera.
Here's the camera.
I was the attraction. So all of the cops would be totally focused on me.
Here we have an arrest. We're in the
heaviest drug neighborhood in America, and I'm being arrested for free speech. Free speech. Free speech.
They didn't even think about her, ever, which was part of our strategy, because we didn't want them thinking about her. But I couldn't be doing it without her.
We are Clayton.
Oh, that's wonderful. Elsa got in there. We should thank Elsa and Clayton. And then there's a lot of other people who want to get that. And then we want to get on to talk about some of what you're up to now.
Definitely. I think it's important to say, first and foremost, Ben Solomon, co-director of this film, is in the West Coast right now doing some great work. And
what part? Where?
He's in Santa Monica?
Yeah,
or?
California, Los Angeles.
It's great. Malibu.
It's beautiful.
Somewhere out there.
Why are we here?
It's a good question.
I don't know.
But yeah,
no, New York's the place.
Ben Solomon there from the beginning.
Yeah, he's from there originally.
Yeah,
from New York. Me and him grew up together.
Him and Dan's baby. This is him and Dan's baby. He's not.
Are you still three working as a team or not?
You know, we are. We are.
Kind of. Yeah, you're three of you, right? You got others though, and there's others you ought to give credit to for the film.
It's you know very very important.
Because
to
it's
say
a collaborative thing,
Mark
right?
Levin, Blowback Productions.
Okay.
That entity and that individual, Mark Levin, gave the guidance to make this film and made it possible. He gets the biggest thank you.
Yeah,
out of
thank
anyone.
you indeed, Mark Levin, and your dad,
and
Mark Levin's dad.
He's
Alan Levin.
Alan Levin.
He goes back. Yeah, right. Okay.
Okay. Paul Lawrence, who was our art director, who designed the site and who spent tireless nights, you know, working on this film, trying.
The cyber guy.
He's the cyber guy.
Created
but
the posters.
he also
That's
created a lot of the marketing.
And all the editing was done on Final Cut, or what?
All the editing was done in Avid, actually.
Avid.
We're old school.
What do you like better, Avid or Final Cut?
I'm split between. Split between, but I'm working on Final Cut right now. It handles this new tapeless HD stuff.
Das, he's Indian, good filmmaker, major filmmaker. He likes Final Cut better than Avid, even though he's got both.
It's it's here and there. So
okay, never mind. That's
thanks
a
to Final Cut, thanks to Avid, thanks to Philip Quinez, who was the composer with Mike Gamble, who composed original music that moves.
They made some amazing music for the film.
Yeah,
definitely.
Airy Weapons, who was an emerging, very talented band coming out of downtown. Dan, you want to shout them out?
Airy Weapons, man. Thank you for the music. They gave us 2 great songs that we use in the film, and it's tremendous, and it goes with the material.
Score is really important, isn't it?
Oh, definitely.
Very
music
important.
in this film
music in this film was so important. It drove the whole story, and also it is, has to do with the collaboration that happened during this film.
The
Getting talented young
part
people
of the best
together
of it, right?
and making
was
something.
Was the collaboration
making a piece
always
of art.
neat and clean and everything, and
no,
above board?
Not
or
at
was
all.
there ever any conflict or anything about what blood? Right?
Bodies, tireless nights,
knives,
lost souls.
They didn't get out. But in the end,
one-way bus tickets to strange places. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a tour of humanity and soul searching. This whole movie for every one of us.
And in the spirit of that, I'd like to thank my partner, my girlfriend Julia Nason, who
Thank you, Julia.
Thank you, Julia. See, I would not know Dan Levin and Ben Solomon.
I don't think you'd have a chance if there wasn't Julia.
I would not be alive.
You'd be hopeless without Julia, right?
You don't know how right you are.
How lucky
you are
how
right
to have such
a
lovely lady in your corner.
Right,
I hope you let her know that every day.
I need to let her know even more now. And she deserves the biggest thank you because I was really pushing the boundaries.
Yeah, I
what
can
would
understand where you probably do push boundaries sometimes, where it could get you into trouble and all that. But
Harold, this
wonderful for that. So good for that. It's a great film. And we got the credits all in. There's more.
Yeah, it will be online. Early April.
Okay.
Amazon, iTunes. The DVD is coming via Amazon.
How long is the total thing? How long?
It's 84 minutes.
84 minutes. Okay.
And actually, we're showing it in the city on March 30th. There's going to be a screening.
March 30th this year, coming up.
Yes, coming up. It's on 169 Bowery. It's part of Collective Hardware.
That's not the place you showed it the other time.
No, this is an emerging spot that has a real good vibrations going on in the neighborhood. It's doing a lot. They're definitely have a lot of things going on there. So we're showing it there. And we have East Coast Hustlers Union.
Clayton will be there, yes.
Clayton
of course.
will be
Clayton
around.
is always around.
Do you have literature out about that? I'll put it
on
the
link.
We
got a flyer.
Put it on
the
page where you guys are going to send out to my list and try to get the word out.
Did
you know I got one thing up on YouTube that said 2,200,000 hits?
That is amazing.
Wild, man.
What was it? Staggering. It was talk like this.
Really?
Who knows where this may go, gentlemen?
I think it'll go.
2 million.
That's a lot. To the moon and back.
That's like MGM.
That
is.
It's amazing.
That says a lot about the internet.
You know, Insight, you can go and get all the demographics. It makes Arbitron look simple. They tell you exactly how many people saw it in every country. It's amazing what they can do with things cyber.
Very wild. That's why the internet is a potent, powerful, progressive.
Yeah, and
all
growing.
The P's.
Captured is also on MySpace, Facebook. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
Pay us a visit. Leave your comments.
Okay, good.
We also accept donations.
Oh, you do? Yeah.
No, we don't. Really.
No, you. Okay.
But Clayton Patterson, the man, the myth, the living.
Do you all
legend.
have a 501c3 or something, or how do you operate?
Just
you don't have a business model.
Money.
Do you have a corporate status? Do you have anything like that? Do you have a name?
Or the younger generation of Blowback
Younger
Productions.
generation
That's
production.
how we operate.
Blowback Productions.
Blowback Productions, great name. That's Mark Levin's thing.
That's right.
Blowback is the thing for bad things CIA does to give blowback.
You know all about it, man.
Well, I know about that, yeah.
Well, that's what the name comes from, for sure.
Now, one of the problems, again, is this damn business of time. We don't have enough time, right? And
so we got everything out of the way.
We got anything about that. That's really good, and we'll let people know. I'll let people know that it's going to be on the 30th. Again, one more time, quick.
March 30th, 169 Bowery, 8 p.m.
8 p.m.
169 Bowery.
What's the street?
Bowery and Delancey.
Right below Delancey. Collective Hardware.
Thank
you.
And we'll try and let
Thank you, Sonetic Right Media.
Got to move along, gentlemen. Got to move along.
Got to move along. We're moving along. So what are we doing now?
What are you doing now? What are you up to? What are you doing? You're working on different pieces.
We made a film about Harlem-based rapper Jim Jones that is going to come out.
You're working collaboratively on it?
Oh, yeah, we made that film together. That film.
That's out, done? That's done?
It's coming out with his album. His album is dropping, as they say, March 24th.
Yes.
And
the film soon to follow.
You've got a full feature-length film?
It's a feature-length, but there's also a cut-down that's going to be on MTV2.
Oh, I don't know. That's another MTV channel?
It's another MTV
I never
world.
See MTV.
Oh,
I don't. Yeah, it's great, and I don't really watch it anymore.
It's a film.
It's a film. It's about Jim Jones, who's a rapper from Harlem, and the Diplomats, who are sort of a rapping camp, Cameron and Joel Santana, and it's sort of their story.
They're following Santana?
No, it's Joel Santana, who is a rapper. They're all from Harlem. They're all originally from this group called the Diplomats. They've sort of fractured right now, but it's sort of go through the history of his rise through that group, and then ultimately his solo career.
With a very humanitarian approach to, the stereotype of, the Harlem rapper or the rapper in general. I mean, this movie really tells the story of his life.
Great book I got from one of the producers here, The Streets of Harlem. It's really good. One of our producers, he was there at the beginning of rap. It goes way the hell back and goes from sampling and everything, and it's very popular all over the world.
Definitely.
I never can understand what they're saying. I can't understand what the words say and everything. But anyway, how did you happen to land on that as the subject for the next film that you were able to collaborate?
Well, through Blowback.
How does it happen? How do you decide? There's so much you could make film about.
Yeah, that
how do you decide?
That came through Blowback and Damon Dash, who was the executive.
Who's Damon Dash?
Damon Dash
of the Captured.
Started Rockefeller Records.
Of Rockefeller Records.
Oh, I don't know.
This is all music
It's music industry stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So they gave a suggestion to you that this guy's a comer. What do you?
Well, they wanted to make a film to come out with his new album, sort of telling his story. So that the world.
The incentive is a marketing thing, but at the same time, the goal is to make a real, actually heartfelt, intellectual film about him. And that, in the end, is the best marketing anyone could ever have, is to have a real documentary.
Did the idea come from the marketers at the record company, or did it come from
that's a convoluted and long story. I think really what we're doing now...
How do you get the inspiration? Do you have to follow the market, right? Everybody has to live and everything.
Well, that's
so there's a lot of people who are trying to sell
what we're doing now.
All right, well,
what's the reality out there that you can...
The reality is Brick City. It's the reality.
Right, but, I'm working now with a team of editors, with Dan's father, Mark Levin, with another executive producer, Mark Benjamin, and with Forrest Whitaker, to create a show called Brick City,
which is the real reality,
which is beyond reality. This is
surreal.
The story of Newark, New Jersey.
Beyond surreal.
It's a very beautiful. Story with a lot of hardship and the struggle of a city that has been, sort of the model for urban decay for
which city?
Newark, New Jersey.
Newark. Okay. They got a new mayor over there.
Cory Booker.
Exactly.
So this docuseries is going to premiere on the Sundance Channel August 26th.
Oh, really? You got the date?
Yes, it's a 5-hour docuseries.
No, yours one in the 5-hour series. I don't understand.
No. This is the Sundance Channel.
Yeah, I know the Sundance Channel. You're gonna premiere in August on the Sundance Channel.
Yes, it's a 5-hour.
That's already written into the
It's
schedule?
a 5-hour serial documentary series.
The whole 5 hours is yours? Or you're one of 5 hours?
No, the whole 5 hours is called Brick City.
Really?
It's a 1 hour
you guys
each
put
night.
It together?
No,
we were
I'm honored to be able to work on it.
My
I'm
father,
a young editor. His father is
Mark
a veteran.
Levin and Mark Benjamin. They put it together.
They put it together.
James Adolphus
was the
shot
cinematographer. Beautifully shot.
I had the chance to shoot some of it, which was an honor and amazing. But Jenner
my co-editors, Vanessa.
That's a major project.
Yeah, it's very
5 hours.
And it's going to push the limit of
my co-editors, Vanessa.
Does it have a take on the human condition?
It is a verite. It is a verite documentary approach in which these characters truly emerge in their day-to-day life and in their day-to-day struggle.
This is
to
just
tell
verite,
a story.
or do you have actors?
Is just,
you don't have actors.
No, this is just verite, focusing on this high-low picture of a city where you have the mayor and the police director, and you have former gang leaders who are now working together to change the community. You have street healers, you have teachers, principals and vice principals of a high school. You have the inner workings of the police department, and you have sort of the politics of City Hall. All these things mixing together to create kind of, in a way, a real-life Wire meets The West Wing, meets something you've never seen before.
No, that sounds really good. They had that thing about Baltimore on home box office. There's a series that went. I forget what was the name.
That was The Wire.
That was The Wire. That's it.
This is the real-life Wire in many ways, but it's beyond
that. But they had
this
actors.
Is not,
You don't have actors.
That's why it's the real thing.
About doing
it's
that,
the
or did
real
Mark ever
thing.
think about getting into a thing?
Oh, I'm sure. I think there's a lot of
and,
theatrical series that could spin out of Brick City, but Brick City really is going to define, I think, a movement in nonfiction television, and really that this, is this model that is going to be unveiled to the American public in August is a model that Blowback hopes to take to other cities.
Okay,
and
good.
This is, as the viewers will see in the summer, this is a quite extraordinary journey with unparalleled intimacy into these characters. And really that goes to show sort of the brilliance of Mark Levin, Mark Benjamin, and Forrest Whitaker for supporting this and being involved in this. And it's very much a huge project.
Well, congratulations to you all. You were involved in that in a less than exactly director Final Cut status. I mean, you were involved as helpers in a way.
No, I'm one of the editors.
You're one of the.
I'm editing.
He's good at editing.
Is
he good at editing?
Definitely.
Where do you best at?
I'm good at shooting.
At shooting.
See, we have that synergy together.
You still call it cinematography when you do
He is a
video?
director of photography.
Director of photography.
The cameras are getting better and better.
The cameras are getting amazing.
I swear to God, Dan, I've seen high definition television. It looks like 35 millimeter to me.
Well, that's what Brick City was shot.
Yeah, we shot this whole film. I mean, it was all.
Shot at high D.
It was tapeless HD on the EX1, which is, I mean, we shot captured on tape, and now this is tapeless. So we sort of, in the past couple years, made that jump.
Everything's going to HD.
I think it's
all
important.
Go to
you mentioned the Garment
60.
District and the death of the Garment District.
Not death, it's coming back, man. The artists are all over
Not
the
Garment District. It's the death of industrial America, really. But yeah, another thing that Blowback is working on that I shot was the director of photography on is a film about the economy in America today.
Oh hell, there's hardly anything
for HBO.
There's no market for that. Nobody's interested in the economy now.
Well, it's
I'm making a joke.
It's an
I'm
interesting
making a
look.
joke. That's all there is.
It's a very interesting look at the economy through a certain.
What perspective? No, that's really. I'm really all intrigued with what's going on with the economy, man. They've been hit upside the head. The whole. They have a saying down south. They say the whole economy has been hit upside the head.
It has.
The whole paradigm that holds everything together. It's really an exciting time.
It is.
And there's a lot. So you're doing that on your own, or is
no,
this not part of Brick
City? Mark
City?
Levin is directing.
We're just the younger. We're like the younger.
We're trying to make a name for ourselves.
Mark Levin helped you and tutored you to make the.
He's directing it.
Now wait a minute.
I'm the
director. Let me finish. You made Clayton. You made what do you call it? Captured, and you were the director.
Yes, that was our film.
Now that you were making. What are you doing that way, where you've got the whole vision and the control in a director status other than working on somebody else's film, which it sounds to me like you were doing on Brick City.
Yes.
Yeah, but yes.
And, and I know
Jim
it's
Jones,
collaborative, but there is the director.
We worked
Are you doing anything where you're actually developing the product, some front line or something where you got
I don't think we can really.
Can you get to that
we
yet?
can't really talk about it because we have several films that we're trying to develop right now, but I think it would be jumping the gun to say them for the audience.
Okay, but is that, you're saying that because you're superstition, if you bring it up, you're not going to get it? I had a friend who used to didn't want to tell a horse he was going to bet on because he thought he'd lose the bet.
It's a little bit of that, but I think it's more that it's not refined enough.
Or is it hard to get in a position? How many, like we have, Hitchcock used to call actors cattle, right?
Yes.
And to be a director, or like in golf, they have a guy, Tiger Woods. And then pretty soon there's just a few. Everything's star. Is the same in the independent
it's hard
film.
To be an independent filmmaker.
Well, I'm trying to say, how do you break out? How do you do it? How does it happen for the filmmaker to make a breakthrough and all that? That's what I'm trying to get at.
I don't know if we've gotten to the point where we could reflect. I think Mark could reflect on his journey, going this many years.
He's from another generation.
Right.
I'm talking about the young guys coming in.
We're trying to find our place.
Well, and what sets the one aside? What's the pattern that sets the visionary aside?
I think something that sets it aside is captured. That was made out of passion and love for the subject,
that's
the story.
A pattern. That's a pattern. Passion and love, you really believe in it. It's not just because you got a bunch of money for somebody to do it.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, you can't do
and
that all the time.
That drives the industry, right?
It doesn't,
by and large, or it doesn't?
Passion and love, I would love to think that. I would be passionate and full of love to think that passion and love drive the industry, and I think they do in some corners.
Passion and love drives the creative process.
Passion and love drives the human condition to create art.
To larger business interests, and most people are picking up leaves on a feudal estate that's all owned and controlled by very few people of little vision.
On a Second Life program in the cyber world. Right?
Anyway, James Joyce had Daedalus say history is a nightmare from which I'm attempting to awaken. How do you feel about the human condition in general? You said you were generally popular, generally positive.
Well, I like to
You're young, you're in your 20s
I am
or
young.
something.
I mean, we just came out of a very gray area, and I think it's
you mean Mr. Bush and
Mr. Bush, definitely.
It was theater of the absurd, huh?
Yeah. Definitely was, and I think now that, the spring is coming and that Obama is coming.
Spring helps, doesn't it?
There's something to be happy about.
Yeah.
So,
Obama's here.
Obama's here, so that
But
big
Obama
change.
is not the only, it's like, we can put these, faces on hope. But really, it's a shift, hopefully a shift in the will for people to take the dream back, I think. But, as the younger generation, I think we would be foolish to say, okay, George Bush was bad and now we got Obama, so like everything's cool. Like, I don't think it's that simple. We're facing some of the biggest challenges any generation has ever faced.
We've been here 200,000 years, the Homo sapien in this planet.
Ice Age may have been a parallel challenge. Yeah. Ice Age, the current economic situation and geopolitical environment. Ice Age, the current things. I don't know.
Ice Age 10,000, 12,000 years ago. Homo
sapien
facing
humanity. Maybe there's been some bigger challenges like a comet or dinosaurs.
Well, that happened 65 million years ago. There have been 5 great extinctions. But 200,000 years, Homo sapien appeared in the evolutionary thing. 10,000 generations. We now have weapons systems that are still there.
That can destroy everything in a second.
Not everything, but they can destroy. Apparently, this should be modeled.
Not
you should
roaches.
Look into it.
Right.
No, roaches. But they can apparently are now species lethal. Weren't in the Second World War, and they're still there. And you got these things going on: Israel, Palestine, Kashmir, and so that's there. And there's got to be something alternative on the other side. And the living pattern of the evolutionary pattern.